Okay, so today we are just reading the rules of changing passage narration. So what you have to do at first, okay, rule number 1. So what they have just said, read the passage narration from first to last and try to understand the speakers and their speeches. You have to differentiate each speech and its speaker. You may not get the name of speaker in each speech, but observing the context of speeches, you have to mark that. So what we have to do at first? So what you have to do at first actually? At first you have to find out who is speaking. That means who is the speaker and with whom he is just talking about. You have to find that at first. Okay. So the thing is actually that. So here see the example and we find the explanation here. So here the question is, you have lost my new bag today. Why have you gone outside leaving it then? Asked the master. Okay, I went outside for drinking a glass of water, sir, said the servant. But you could go after my coming. Now pay for the bag. Yes, I am guilty for my carelessness, but now I have no money, replied the servant. Okay, so actually we have to find out the speaker. Okay, so Galip, tell me which one is the speaker here? Who is talking with whom at first in this first sentence? Who is talking with in this first sentence? Who is talking with whom?
The
Master is
master was
talking with,
talking with the servant.
yes, master is talking
The
with the
servant.
servant. Nice. So we have to change it in such a way. So we could say, so the master asked the servant if he had lost his new bag that day. Here we find today, and we have read before. If we find today, there will be that day. So if he had lost his new bag that day, then see, why have you gone outside leaving it then? Now
Why
if you,
if here it is a assertive sentence?
the first one is assertive sentence, but the second one is interrogative sentence. Yes, what's your question, CM? Tell me again.
You said if the master had, if the servant had, but in assertive sentence we do not use if.
Oh, did I use if? Okay, I'm sorry then. Uh, wait. Oh, okay, okay, yes, yes, yes. There is asked. So yes, so at first it will be yes. Thank you for mentioning that. I have done a mistake here. So here it could be the master said, yes, the master said to the servant that he had he had lost his new bag that day. Full stop. Okay, asked then he asked again, or then he asked the servant why he had gone outside leaving it then. Okay, so we can change it like this. Thank you for mentioning. Actually, yes, this is assertive sentence, and we should not use there asked. Okay, then I went outside for drinking a glass of water, sir, said the servant. So here we find sir. So we have read before in our other rules. So if we find sir, so we can change it using respectfully. So actually it is answered to. So we can say the servant answered respectfully that, or the servant said respectfully that he had gone outside for drinking a glass of water. So here it is written in past indefinite, so we are changing it into past perfect. So according to corresponding past tense, we knew that if we find past indefinite, then we have to change it past perfect. Then but you could go after my coming. Now pay for the bag. Actually, who is talking? So this is talked, or this is told by the master too. So we can say then the master added that, or we can also keep it here only. Then the master said that he okay. So but you could go. Then the master said that he could go after his coming. Then he added that. So if we find that as two sentences are placed one after another in passage narration, then generally we use added that. And if we would find interrogative sentences, two interrogative sentences are placed together, then we would use again asked. So but you could go after my coming. So the master said that he, here we could write he in bracket, it could be s, that means servant. So he could go after his coming. My is changed into his, after his coming. Okay, then
Sir, sir,
yes,
sir,
tell me.
sir, we have learned that if there is but, then we will have to change into with the dissatisfaction or something like that.
Yes, we can use that too. Yes, in our previous class we had just learned about that. Okay, tell me the sentence. So what you want to say?
Sir, with
Yes,
dissatisfaction,
yes,
master.
yes. With dissatisfaction, in our previous class we had learned that. Yes, with dissatisfaction, the master said. Okay,
Said that
continue. He,
so with dissatisfaction,
hmm,
yes, sir,
with dissatisfaction, the master said that he could go after
he
his
could go for
coming.
his coming. Yes, sir.
Okay, now pay for the bag. Then he added that he had to pay for the bag.
Bag.
Actually, here this sentence is an imperative sentence. Pay for the bag. So that's why we are using, or he told that. Okay, he added that he had to pay for the bag. Then yes, I am guilty for my carelessness, but now I have no money, replied the servant. So what will be this if we change it? So the servant replied in the affirmative. If we find yes, in our previous class we have learned that if we find yes, then you have to change it into affirmative. So the servant replied in the affirmative and said that um, he was guilty for his carelessness, but then he had no money. Here we cannot change this but. Okay, so that we can say, or we could say said that, or we could say replied that. So actually passage narration can be changed in many ways. Just we have to keep the logic. I have discussed in my previous class too about this. So okay, now we find an explanation what they're saying in this passage. Notice the sentence says, but you could go after my coming. Now pay for the bag. Okay, and you will get there is no speaker mentioned after this species, but because of context, we get that it is the species of the master. Okay, what they are saying, the thing that we have told before, that is we have to find the speaker and the listener, and by reading the sentence we had found the speaker and the listener here. Okay, then rule number 2. Okay, rule number 2 we find you have to write the name of speaker and listener of each speech before the speech during changing before the speech. See, you have to write the name of the speaker and the listener of each speech before the speech during the changing. In question, you may not get the name with each sentence, and you may get the name of speaker at first or last. But during the changing to indirect, you have to put the name of speaker and listener at first. Okay, so what they are saying that sometimes it happens that we find pronoun at the beginning of a direct sentence. So then we will, but at last we may find the noun. We don't find the example like this here, but later we'll find. So if we find the pronoun at the beginning and if we find the noun at the last, we should use the noun or the subject at the beginning to change it into indirect, and then we have to keep the pronoun at the last. We can use the pronoun at the last. So here in direct sentence we find I have called you today. Why are you so much busy? He said I was busy with some official works, said I. So here how can we change this? So here we find okay, so this reporting verb is at the last with the subject, but we have to take it at the beginning. So we can write he said to me that he had called me that day. Then I was busy with some official work, said I. So then why are you so much busy? So he asked me if I was so much busy. Then I was busy with some official works. I replied or I answered that I had been busy with some official works. Okay, then we find in rule number 3, you will mention the name of both speaker and listener for the first time. Next, you have to address them by pronoun. Okay, what I was saying before in rule number 2, they are saying here in rule number 3 now. You will mention the name of both speaker and the listener for the first time. So at first, at the beginning of a sentence, you have to mention their name. If you find the name, that means noun. Then next, you have to address them by pronoun words such as he, she, and they. If the pronoun of the two persons become the same, you will mark the pronoun words with the first alphabet in a bracket after it, such as, for example, he. Then okay. So what we find here actually, we find here that we are using pronoun after the first sentence, but when we are using pronoun, we are just using the first letter of the name. So, but if there is the name mentioned after any speech, you will also mention the name again. So, example and explanation. So, in direct speech, if we find you have lost my new bag today, why have you gone outside leaving it then? Asked the master. So, I went outside for drinking a glass of water, sir, said the servant. So, if we convert this into indirect, so we can write the master told the servant that he had lost his new bag that day. So I was saying in the beginning that you are using here the pronoun, so you are using the first alphabet of the main subject. So here he means actually the servant, and here his means actually the master. So that's why they are mentioning in bracket, otherwise we will be confused. So the master told the servant that he had lost his new bag that day. Then he asked him why he had gone outside leaving it then. The servant respectfully replied that he had gone outside for drinking a glass of water. Okay, in rule number 4, Okay, we have discussed it before that if we find sir, then we will use if we find sir, we will use respectfully. Actually, the passive narration is the combination of the rules that we have learned before about the 5 sentences. The conversion of 5 sentences, that means assertive to uh, sorry in we are when we are just converting an assertive sentence to direct to indirect, when we are just converting an uh, optative sentence or imperative sentence to direct to indirect. So we have to learn about those 5 sentences before completing this passive narration. Okay, no problem. And who are new here today, we will just discuss about it later. So no need to be tensed. If you face any problem, you will tell me. I will discuss about the previous one later. Or if you go to my YouTube channel, you can find out the previous class uh, about this narration, I think. Okay, now rule number 4. So in passage, if there are 2 or more sentences of the same speaker together, you have to use the expression said to or told. It's important. So during narration, what you have to follow that when we are just converting direct to indirect, we have to keep in mind that if we use say or said, then we have to use to after that. But if we use told, we don't have to use to after told. So that's very important. So, but for the second speech, you will use the expression again said or again told or again asked, these things. So generally I prefer to use again said or again asked, or added that I also like to use. So it's up to you which one you will use. So what I do, if a person just talks 3 sentences, okay, one by another, then I like to use at first added, then I like to use further added or further said, added that or further added that. Then we if it's interrogative, then we can use asked, then we can use again asked or further asked. So this is important for passive narration. These are important for passive narration. So see, but remember, if the sentences are similar of categories, you will do it. If one sentence is assertive and another one is interrogative or imperative, you need not apply this method. So what I was reading before. So see, at the beginning when I was reading, I had just done a little mistake at the beginning today, and that was this one. So actually here this one is assertive sentence, this one is assertive sentence, and this one is interrogative sentence. So we have to convert the assertive sentence as it is according to the rules, and we have to change the interrogative sentence according to the rule too. Their rules are different. But if there was an interrogative sentence, and if there is also an interrogative sentence here, then we could use the asked and then again asked. So here they are saying about this actually. So when you find the similar categories, that means similar categories means similar categories of sentence, or one speaker is saying the saying the sentences one by another, and also maintaining the categories, similar categories, then we can use these rules. Otherwise we don't have to use these rules. That means we don't have to say again said or again asked, or we don't have to say added or further added. So here we find a box. We should keep in mind, we should practice it, or we can memorize actually. So here we find a box, and that is for assertive sentence and for interrogative sentence. So say at first it is said that Then at the second part in assertive sentence we can say and added that, or we can also say and further added that, and moreover added that, and again added that. Actually what is happening, so at the beginning we just used said that, so at the second that person is so much talkative perhaps, so he's talking again. So at the second time we may use and added that. At the third time we may use and further added that. At the fourth time that same person is talking, for example, so we can use and moreover added that. Or at the fifth time if that same person also talks, then we can use and again added that, like this actually. By maintaining the sequence, we can maintain the sequence in such a way. For interrogative sentence we can maintain the sequence too, like this. So here we at first we find asked if, then and further asked if, and more asked if, and again asked if. So but generally I prefer here asked and again asked, then further asked. So generally I prefer here this one at first, then in second sequence I prefer this one, uh, and at the third sequence I generally prefer this one. Okay, so when we will practice more and more, we will understand actually where we have to do what. Okay, then in rule number okay, there are some examples we may read. Okay, example and explanation. Okay, so Siam, read this. So direct sentence, so what we find here, you will do it indirect without saying this. So read it direct. You have selected the boy for the job. You will take his responsibility from now, said the officer. So do it. Okay, change it into indirect. Siam, hello. Change this into indirect.
Hmm. Changing. Mm, the officer said that
Hmm.
you had selected the boy for the job and added that you would take this responsibility from then.
Okay, see, so the officer is saying to whom we don't know. So what we can do, we can use this thing. That is, we can take ourselves. দেখা গেলো রাস্তায় কোনো একটা কথা হচ্ছে, তুমি রাস্তাতে হেঁটে যাচ্ছ, ঠিক আছে, বাংলায় এবার কথা বলছি। তুমি রাস্তাতে হেঁটে যাচ্ছ, এমন সময় কেউ দেখা গেলো চিৎকার করে কোনো একটা সাউন্ড দিল, তোমাকে বললো না, কিন্তু তোমার কাছে মনে হচ্ছে কি যে তোমাকেই বলেছে, ঠিক আছে। তা আমরা নিজের দিকে নিয়ে নিব, যখন আমরা কোনো অবজেক্ট পাবো না তখন আমরা নিজের দিকে নিয়ে নিব। তাহলে কি হচ্ছে, ইউ হ্যাভ সিলেক্টেড দ্য বয় ফর দ্য জব, সো ইউ উইল টেক দিস রেসপন্সিবিলিটি ফ্রম নাও, সো said the officer. So we can write like this: the officer said to me, I have selected the boy for the job. I had selected the boy for the job, and also added that I would take his responsibility from then. I think you understand this. So there was no listener, so that's why we can take it to ourselves. Or we could also write like this: so you have selected the boy for the job, you will take this responsibility from now, said the officer. So we could write like this. See, we could write the officer said to the listener. We could also write like this: the officer said to the listener that he had selected the boy for the job and added that he would take his responsibility from then. So if you use listener, then you are using here he, and if you are taking to personally to yourself, then you are using here me, or then you are using here me or I. Okay, then in rule number 5 we find there are some certain words or phrases in indirect there are some certain words or phrases in direct speeches which will be changed in indirect species. Now I will show you a chart of those phrases. Here it is. So see, forms in indirect speech and uh, forms in direct speech and forms in indirect speech. See, so we have read it before and it is again. Okay, okay, we may read, no problem. So if we find sir, then we just use respectfully said, respectfully asked. So if we find yes, generally we use replied in the affirmative, that replied in the affirmative, that. So what you will do, I know you know it, all of you know it, so you may just practice. See, the exam that I had taken, I had just inputted some passage narration there intentionally, so that I can understand you that you are just reading some advance, reading in advance, something in advance too. That's why I had given some passage narration there too. Uh, After completing this today, we will try to complete our passage narration rules today. I will take another test on Sunday. Okay, so what you will do, you will just complete all passage narration, you will just practice all passage narration in these days. So next exam will be taken on Sunday about this passage narration, and there will be only passage narration generally. So be prepared, or few rules from passage narration there will be asked in the online question, online exam, or online quiz test. Okay, then no. Okay, so if we find no, then we are just converting this into reply in the negative, that. Okay, then thanks. If we find thanks, then we are using this structure, that is subject plus thank plus object. Okay, then if we find good morning or evening, then we are just doing this. It's important. If we find good morning, good evening, good night, then we have to use this structure: wished, subject plus wished plus object plus good morning or evening plus night. So what I can do, in that online test, I may add some structure too. For example, if I find goodbyes, then which structure will be there, like this, and I will keep some options there like the previous exam. So be careful and practice these things. At first understand this table, then try to memorize. That will be helpful for you. Okay, then by Allah, then God, then Job, then by my life. So swearing by Allah, swearing by God, swearing by Job, then swearing by my life. We have read it before, actually. Okay, so Siam is having network problem. Okay, then, so if we find okay, then we will use subject plus agreed, that. So listen to me what I was saying. So today, in previous exam, the highest mark was got by the highest mark was achieved by Siam, I think. Okay, Siam got 24 or 94% mark. So I think I told that I will give you a paid Clipstoffel full course as a gift. So perhaps Siam may take it today. But who has not attended the exam today yet, they can attend it today. The exam time is up to 7. Okay, so today up to 7, that means up to 7 p.m. you may attend the exam. The link is given on the group. So if you who has not attended, then attend there. Okay, then if we find hello or hi, so what we can write there? So subject plus greeted, that. Then if we find replied, asked, cried, uttered, muttered, then it will be unchanged. It's important and it's just confusing too sometimes. So see, so if we find muttered, then it will be unchanged. So there is a story from Lanchan. Okay, there is a writer. There was a writer, Somerset Maugham, and that Somerset Maugham's there was a nice writing, and that is luncheon. I think it's in your syllabus too. So there is a word luncheon, and from there, most of the time you will get fascination in your exam. So if we find this word, for example, in direct speech, if it is written muttered or uttered or cried or asked or replied, so we'll keep these things unchanged. We'll not change this. So that's the thing actually here. For example, so direct, the boy said, "Sir, I will attend the classes regularly." So here what we find in indirect, the boy respectfully said that he would attend the class regularly. Okay, then you said, okay, so what the structures or the rules we have just read here in this table. Now we have found some examples regarding this. So what you will do, you will just revise these tables and you will just uh, match these sentences, and if you face any problem you will just tell me. If you read this table properly you can just do this. Okay, I'm reading the last example here. And he uttered silently, "No one is here now." So here we find uttered. So in indirect we have just kept it unchanged, because at the last rule we had just learned, we had just learned it, if we find muttered or uttered or this type of words, it will be unchanged. So here we find he uttered silently, so no one is here now. So he uttered silently that no one was here then. Okay, so in rule number 6, what we find, if there is any addressing word in a sentence such as friend, father, brother, sister, mother, king, comrades, viewers, then you will use a different structure during changing into index. Okay, actually we have read it before too. So then we have to use addressing. Then if it is addressing him or addressing her, so addressing him as friend, then subject plus verb, this structure we have to use. If we find someone is mentioning another person with a special title or with a special relation, then we have to use these structures there. Okay, for example, so he said to me, "Friend, give me this book for reading." So in direct we find addressing me as friend, he told me to give him that book for reading. I hope you get the point. Okay, then rule number 7. Okay, so if there is any phrase out of inverted commas, you will not change it. You will rewrite the same form of phrase at the beginning of the reporting verb of indirect speech. Okay, it's important. Actually, if we find a phrase before inverted comma, if it's a long phrase, we'll just keep it unchanged. Okay, if you see the example, it will be clear. Okay, now see. He said to me, moving beside the Indian border, "I am visiting the historical place." So here we find a long phrase actually here. That is, so this is the reporting verb, and we find the phrase here from here. The phrase, the participle phrase has been stated from here. I hope I have taught you about the participle phrase. I have taught you about the participle. There are three types of participle: present participle, past participle, and perfect participle. Now, Shahriar will tell me which participle is this. Shahriar, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Which
Sir, it
participle
is
is
a
this?
present participle, sir.
Yes, thank you. So this is the example. This is an example of present participle. So if we find these uh, phrases, uh, okay, if we find phrase or with a participle generally, so then we use that part of the sentence at the beginning. At the beginning, then generally we use a comma. Okay, so so our participle phrase just starts from here. So moving beside the Indian border. So in indirect form, we are just doing the same by keeping that unchanged. So we are taking it from here. So moving beside the Indian phrase. So if we, it happens generally when we find uh, our past narration or our sentence, our direct sentence in participle phrase, present participle phrase generally, then it happens. This rule just is applicable then generally. So moving beside the Indian border, he said to me that he was visiting the historical place. So we have to follow this, and it comes to exam often, so be careful, and it's very important actually. And in your university admission you will find a question from this rule too, I hope. Generally from this type of rule, questions are set in admission test. Okay, then rule number 8. If there is a name of a person in the speech and in and inverted commas, you will use that name reporting verb during the changing speech. See, he said, we have read this rule before, so it is again it is repeated here. He said, where are you going, Robin? So he asked Robin where he was going. See, the object Robin was in reported speech, even that, but even after that we are using that in the object form. So sometimes if we find the name in reported speech, we can take that name as the object of the reporting verb. Okay, then in rule number 9. Okay, so in rule number 9 we find if the sentence in inverted commas is in assertive but with an interrogation sign at last, you will use the expression being surprised. We have read it before too. Okay, so it's important. I told you that. Okay, the sentence is not interrogative. Okay, so the sentence is written in assertive, but we find a interrogative question mark. But we find a question mark or note of. Okay, we find a question mark at the last. Then we have to use being surprised. It's important, and it comes to admission test often. And if you find the previous board question answer, then you will find that previous board question answers, previous exams question answers were set from this rule. So what's happening here actually? See, you know where he lives. Actually, okay, when you will read Cliff's TOEFL for admission test, you will learn about embedded question. I don't know, is there anyone here who has seen my Cliff's TOEFL videos, few of the Cliff's TOEFL course video on YouTube or not? There is a topic named embedded question. So actually it is the embedded question here. So embedded question, in embedded question generally we find this structure. So what's happening, and in embedded question generally it is assertive sense actually. So he said to me, you know where he lives now. So you know where he lives now. Actually what's happening here? Actually this is an assertive sentence. So how do we understand that? Because in assertive sentence generally the structure happens like this. At first there is subject, then there is verb. So at first there is subject, then there is verb. But in question, okay, but in W's question or any type of question related sentence, what happens? We find the verb at first, then we find the subject. So this is the basic actually. So in question or in W's question we find this type of structure. Now what's happening? Actually verb means here the auxiliary verb, or it could be the W's word at first. So here we find the auxiliary verb at first, then subject, then the main verb actually. But the main thing is that we find the verb at first in question. if we find a sentence is interrogative, then we find the question, we find the verb at first. But in assertive sentence, we find the subject at first, then we find the verb. So in such a way, you have to understand actually it is a question, actually it is an interrogative sentence or not. So if you find the sentence is not interrogative, the sentence is assertive, but at last they have just used the question mark, then you have to use this phrase, and that is being surprised. So being surprised, he asked me if I knew where he lived in. So that's the thing. Do you have any question? Yes. Okay, so I hope you have just understood now what I am saying. So in our next exam, I hope everyone will get the highest mark. For example, in my previous exam, I told who will get more than 90% mark on that exam, or more than 95% mark, everyone will get the prize. Okay, so or gift. So I hope in my next exam everyone will try to get up to 90% mark. Okay, now rule number 10. Sometimes we do not get any object of reporting verb in direct speech. In that case, we can use the expression the person spoken to. Okay, it's important to say or me or as the object of reporting verb in indirect speech. So it may happen that you will not find the speakers. Then what you can use? You may use this phrase the person spoken to. Actually, I don't prefer this. I don't like this. So what I can suggest you, generally in that case you may use the listener. So here actually he said, I will tell you the incident tomorrow. So we don't find any listener here, we don't find any object here. So what we can do, he said to the person spoken to, we can write like this. He said to the person spoken to that he would tell him the incident that next day, or we could just write he said to the listener that. Okay, then it would be clear, there would be no problem. So he said to the listener that he would tell him the incident the next day. Okay, or we could also use me here, but I prefer this thing because if we use that, no teacher can cut my mark. So during the exam time I need the mark. Okay, at first I will learn, but during the exam time I need mark, I need a good GPA. So we should always try to get the highest mark in an easy way. Okay, it's my belief actually. It may not match with you. So try to learn in an easy way and try to apply it. So we will use listener here in this case. No need to use the person is talking to. Okay, then we find now. Okay, there is another sentence. You just revise it. Okay, now see the example. Okay, Siam, are you there or you are in offline now? Did you join again?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, just read this
Yes.
and try to make it indirect now. Now see the example and try to indirect it in your own word, but just keeping the logics. Continue, please. Direct. At first, read the direct sentence. Siam, can you see on your phone or not? Then I will tell to read someone else. Did Shazid join today? No, Shazid is absent today. I should
Yes.
have called Shazid.
Hello.
Sir, actually, Shaji did not eat
Hmm.
online, sir.
Okay,
That's
Shazid.
why
I can
we
read.
cannot.
That's right. Do you know,
Okay,
Galib,
I can read.
he's facing any net problem or something? Do you know about? Oh, sorry. Shahid was messaging me. Perhaps he was facing phone problem before. Shahid was messaging password problem or something like that. I don't know actually. Okay, we'll contact with in later. Contact with phone. She was messaging in Facebook and other platforms. Okay, read please, Siam.
You have lost my new bag today. Why have you gone outside, leaving it then? Asked the master. By Allah, I went outside for drinking a glass of water, sir, said the servant. You could go after my coming. You could wait for someone else. Now pay for the bag. Yes, I am guilty for my carelessness, but now I have no money, cried the servant. Should I interject it?
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you for reading. Now we are just changing this into indirect one by one. So you have okay. So you have lost my new bag today. Why have you gone outside, leaving it then? Asked the master. By Allah, I went outside for drinking a glass of water, sir. এখানে কেউ আছো নাকি যে বারবার সারাদিন বসে বসে এরকম কসম করো বা কিরা কাটো, না আমি এটা করিনি, আল্লাহর কসম আমি এটা করি নাই। তো এটা হলো সেই জিনিস, ঠিক আছে? By Allah, I went outside for drinking a glass of water, sir, said the servant. You could go after my coming. You could wait for someone else. Now pay for the bag. Yes, I am guilty for my carelessness, but now I have no money, cried the servant. দেখলো সার্ভেন্ট নিজেই ব্যাগটা মেরে দিয়েছে, কি জানি নাও হতে পারে। ওকে, মজা করে বললাম, সিরিয়াসলি নেওয়ার দরকার নেই, সার্ভেন্টরা ভালো হয় অনেক সময়। আচ্ছা, এখন দেখো যেটা বলছে, সো ইউ হ্যাভ লস্ট মাই নিউ ব্যাগ টুডে। সো হু ওয়াজ সেইং দ্যাট? সো দ্য মাস্টার সেড দ্যাট হি he had or the master said that he had here we could the master said to the servant, the master said to the servant that he could be s, okay, in bracket, the master said to the servant that he had lost his new bag that day. Then he asked why he had gone outside, leaving it then. So see, you cannot write why he then asked why had you have to write why he had. That means I'm just telling, actually when we are just converting an interrogative sentence into assertive sentence, then that interrogative sentence is just going to be converted into, I'm sorry, when we are just converting a direct sentence into indirect, then if that direct sentence, okay, if the direct speech is in interrogative sentence, then that is converted into assertive sentence, and then our structure is going to be changed too. In interrogative sentence we find verb at first, then the subject, and in assertive sentence we find at first the subject, then the verb. That's why it is then the master asked the servant why he had gone outside, leaving it then. Okay, then by Allah, I went outside for drinking a glass of water, sir. Okay, so said the servant. So we can write the servant replied respectfully, or we can write by Allah. So we can write swearing by Allah, the servant replied respectfully that he had gone outside for drinking a glass of water. Then you could go after my coming. Then here actually see in the middle point we find actually this is the master who is talking again. This is the master who is talking again. So you could go after my coming. So here we could write, the master added that he could go after his coming, or we could also write uh, the master said that he could go after his coming. Then he added that he could wait for someone else. Then he also added that now he had to pay for the bag. So this in such a way we can change this. Then yes, I am guilty for my carelessness, but now I have no money, cried the servant. Okay, so here we find cried. So what actually happened? We may keep it as it is if we find cried. Okay, so we can say the servant replied in the
You should
affirmative.
change now. I have a question.
Yes,
Hello?
yes, you have to change now. Then he had to pay for the bag. Yes, thank you for saying. Then he had to pay for the bag. Okay, okay, uh, okay. Now see, today I am making so many mistakes. I think there is a reason actually. From 9 actually I am taking the class. Now at 2 I am taking your class, and before that I was taking the class of standard 6. Okay, of English medium. I was taking their written test and oral test. Okay, that's why it's happening perhaps. Okay, now listen to me. So yes, I am guilty for my carelessness, but now I have no money, cried the servant. So the servant, okay, so the servant replied in the affirmative and said that, the servant replied in the affirmative and cried that uh, he was guilty for his carelessness, but then, yes, but then he had no money. So that's the thing actually. So there is Abid, Hillary, 1, 2, 3.
Mingo.
Wait, yes, again. F. So this is the thing, okay?
S
I was
A
taking the class
Mingo.
and exam. F L A from the beginning, oral test. Have you
Mingo.
seen, everyone? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps that's why I'm little bit tired or making mistakes. So again, don't mind so much, okay? Are you okay? That's the thing. Okay, now, but if I make mistake, please tell it, okay, so that we can correct ourselves again, like Siam. Okay. Uh, then uh, there are so many other examples. Okay, where in which page here? Okay. Okay, we have read rule number 9. Now, okay, then we had read rule number 10 too. Okay, then there is explanation. If you get time, you may read the explanation. Actually, I have just explained this for you. So that's the thing actually. So we have today we have just read about 10 rules about passage narration. So in our next class, okay, I will take the test on passage narration. There will be 25 marks. So just try to attend the test. Are you getting it? And it will be only on passage narration. So what may happen that actually we are reading on our next class will be on Sunday at 2 p.m. But it may happen that I may share the link in the group and on Saturday, and you may join the exam. So be prepared for the test of passage narration, and I hope there will be another
I have
gift
a
for you.
question.
Yes, please ask me.
What will be the time for time duration
Which
for
time duration?
25 question? Time duration for 25 questions
No, it will
for
be
answering.
25 mark. Okay.
Uh,
Okay, and each pagination will be 5 marks. Okay, there will be 5 pagination and it will be 5 marks, and it will be and 12 minutes, okay, like this. Have you understood?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, now listen to me. Uh, so that's my class for today. But next day you will write a creative writing too. The next day there will be task. Abo, mi class নিচ্ছে একটু পরে কথা বলি. Uh, okay. There is a person. There is a new student, and actually, his name is Mahir. Okay. You may discuss with Mahir too if you get time. Actually, he is using his sister's Skype ID, so name is different. So Mahir, I am telling you. Can you hear me, Mahir? Hello. I'm talking with you, Mahir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mahir, listen to me. I know you're new. Actually, I don't know. We have read the narration before. Sorry, you have read narration recently or not? But if you read narration, then if you have practiced, then you may attend this test I have given in the group. Can you see my screen on the right side? Hello.
Yes.
So today, what you
Yes.
can
They
do? Yes. Did you attend this test actually?
Okay.
No. I'm telling. Did you attend the test, Mahir? This test
No.
previously? No,
No.
you didn't.
Karini.
Okay. So if you get time, you may attend the test today. Okay. This test by going to the link, you may attend the test. And next day we'll do the passage narration. Next we'll attend the test on passage narration. And Mahir, if you face any problem in narration, okay, you may discuss with me personally because you are new. And speaking in English. Okay, I speak English here generally because most of the students here are from English medium or English version. uh, it may happen that sometimes we may face problem. Okay, if you face problem, just tell me, sir, I didn't understand, please repeat it. I will try to repeat it again for you. Have you understood, Mahir?
Yes.
Okay, so today for you, this is the task. You will just attend the test. Other students have just attended, and today you will just attend the test. And next day for all of you, uh, my task is just revise the narration. Okay, and I want to see your creative writing skill again. So generally they write the creative writing. Okay, now I'm telling it to Mahir. You will just write a free hand writing. Actually, in Bangla medium, what we say, free hand writing. In English medium or version, generally they say it as creative writing. So next time I'm giving you a topic, and it's easier, and that is uh, write about your life, write about your uh, write about your time, write about write okay, I'm taking this, no problem. Write about your time at home in this lockdown. Hey, Galib, did you write it before or little bit different thing? Galib, are you there?
Sir, what is the topic, sir?
Here I have just given write about your time at home in this lockdown.
Sir, we had completed it.
Uh,
We have completed about the topic, sir, advantage and disadvantage of lockdown, sir.
yes, but I think I didn't tell you to write about your personal life. That means what you are experiencing at home, what you are feeling. Did I? I think no. Actually, it's I'm not telling you
No,
to
sir.
write about your personal life. It's just a free hand writing. Okay, so
Sir,
free hand.
what we are talking at home, sir. what we are doing, sir. What we
what
are
you are
doing at
doing,
home.
what you are experiencing, what your mental state. For example, what's happening that before this lockdown or before this corona, okay, problem in this world, what I was feeling, I used to love to stay at home. I used to think that if I could stay at home, but I would not get time to stay at home. Okay, I used to go out for my work. Okay, but now my every task can be done online at home. For example, I can just work for my education institution from my home using Zoom app. I'm teaching you here using Skype, but my other activities are just uh, what can I say, going on using Zoom. So I'm just telling what's your mental state, what's your feeling, what you are doing at home in this lockdown. Are you getting the point, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that's the thing. So I have given you two tasks, and that is one is for narration test. You have to be prepared yourself for passage narration, and another is for I have given a task that is a creative writing or freehand writing. You will just write about it, and it will be 200 words. I didn't mention it, but it will be 200 words. Okay, so that's for today. I think a few students here they have chemistry class now. Okay, so goodbye everyone, and have a nice day.